So, welcome to the latest Grand Star Zoom, as we now call them Thinking Thursday. Today, the guests are Peter Harnden and David Mitchell, and the subject has really come about following a letter from David about prize money for the Grand Prix at Sunderland, where he intends to have a runner. Uh, we want to extend the whole conversation to beyond simply that competition, look at how prize money's developed over the years, where it's going, and some of the repercussions of when prize money doesn't really come up to scratch. So, David, over to you. Before we start, I think we should, on the subject of Blue Tick George, I think we can, this is there in your honour, courtesy of the National Treasure, Steve Nash.
Yeah, that's. I'm sure that photo's Nottingham. I think that was one of the rounds of the derby where he won that night. Great photo of that. I've put a picture of that on the wall. But
It's a cracking pick, isn't it?
So yeah, it seems to have caused a bit of debate. The letter that I sent in around about prize money and the Grand Prix. I'm happy to say that 95% of the responses is kind of people understanding where I was coming from. There was no malicious intent about the north-south divide, open race, graded racing. A couple of things that did come out of that one that I just really want to touch on. I have obviously came into for a bit of criticism as Blue Tick George is running at Sunderland. But I think the most important thing to highlight in this is that I'm just one owner in Blue Tick George. You know, it's a syndicate. When I speak on Twitter or I speak on these kind of conversations, I speak for myself, not for the syndicate. Blue Tick Syndicate democracy, and whenever we, talk about campaigning George or any of our other dogs, we do that as a group and take feedback from Jim Daly. So although I probably came into a little bit of criticism, the reasons I've brought up the prize money, especially around the Grand Prix, the 36 dog competition, 3 rounds, especially with the trial, going over the actual figures, there was no malicious intent in that.
No, fair enough. As you say, at the end of the day, you've turned up. I mean, we record this on a Wednesday night, and of course, this particular Wednesday, we've got the final at the Puppy Derby, Northern Puppy Derby final at Newcastle, and I was talking to Patrick Janssens before it started, and he said, well, basically he's there because there was nothing else suitable for him to run his dogs in. But it will be, if his finalist tonight finishes down the field, it will be 4 trips up there, 3 races and trial. And I can't remember what she won in the semis, to be honest. But basically, to run down the field in the final is £250. Which doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. I guess you could say a little bit like yourselves. Well, if it's that bad, don't turn up. If it's that bad, why own open races? Because if you can't get races for your dogs, Peter, do you think that we're in a position now where these events are primarily going to have to put on for local trainers? If the tracks aren't prepared to increase prize money, then simply it's a case for owners in the northeast to say, well, we've got a few quid to run for, but we can't expect people from the south, to travel up and down the motorways for £250 in the final.
No, the cost of today's living and the cost of fuel and the labour costs, people run things as business, and you've got to run the greyhound side of things as business. But for too long, we've supported the industry with just the love of the sport, and nowadays, people's pound in the pocket, it means a lot more to them. So you've got to weigh up whether you can afford to do these things or not, and you can't run around the country if you can't make it pay. And I think people will start looking at it and start considering their options and thinking, what is there locally? What is it worth travelling? And I've done it myself, and I don't think it is. I mean, I went down to Crayford and went down for, I think it was 2 or 3 looks down to Crayford. With a track like that, you need to have plenty of looks, and I always think Sunderland's pretty similar. but it was 17,000 quid down at Crayford. And I think last year I went down, was it for the coaches?
The Kent St Ledger, the J&K, isn't it? J&K.
J&K, yeah. And I think that was like probably 8,000 or something like that. And it's worth putting the time in and the effort in for the return what you might get. You know, it's always a gamble because, you know, you're not going to turn around and say, I'm going to go down, I'm going to win these things. But you weigh up what your chances are, look what else is around and think, you know, I'm going down there with a sporting chance. And with that sporting chance, it could pay returns.
Yeah.
Well, when you start weighing up that you actually got to win, and when you look what the quality of animals, what the likes of Angela Harrison, Jimmy Fenny, and some of the other up there up north have got, you think to yourself, you know what, I'm all on to win this. And if we don't win it out of 36, I'm in financial trouble because I've done no good. And it doesn't make financial sense. And it's, you know, you don't want to just pick on the Sunderland competition because there's lots of other competitions what aren't worth the money. But I looked at it because I got a bitch, which was that sort of distance would have suited me, and I just can't justify it at this point in time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, one of the points I did want to make, and if I can do a bit of a share screen here for the full list of Category 1 competitions is quite extensive. And one of the points, my own feeling is that ARC have slightly misjudged this particular competition at Sunderland, or in both of them a little bit, in that they're asking, you know, 3 journeys for £3,000. In the first instance, I don't like the idea of it being a Grand Prix for £3,000. To me, a Grand Prix was one of the original classics, and it's kind of demeaning it a little bit. Not that companies haven't done that in the past. We look at what they've done to the Scurry Gold Cup, running it for £1,000. But overall, you know, ARC haven't cut corners. That they, I think Jonathan Kay made a fair point. You know, that although despite the criticism floating around, there's no sign of it in the fixture list. And one of the things that they brought back is the Northern Flat, and they've given it £6,500 to the winner, and that completely disappeared down to GRA. So, you know, we've kind of got to be fair. One of the things I guess that I wanted to raise, in fact, I was intending to do a Twitter poll, which I never got round to, I confess, and that's the breakup. I mean, we're talking tonight at Newcastle at £6,500 to the Puppy Derby winner, and I think £250 for the others. Do you two have a view on how prize money should be split? I mean, if dogs were going to the final, knock 1,500 quid off the winner's prize, make it £5,000, and spread that around the finalists, or spread that between the semis and the final. Would that make a difference to you? You talked a second ago, Peter, about the big money at Crayford, the Kent St Ledger or the Golden Jacket. Is it just about the first prize?
I think it's putting the prestige in there. I mean, I know I spoke earlier, and we was talking about in horse racing where some of those people that win these big races, you know, the Coolmore gang and the Sheiks, money doesn't mean everything to those, but the money puts a prestige there in there, and it you know, that's why the breeders go out there and breed the horses, because then they can sell on, because they're going to earn this money, and they go to store and they got the money. You've got to, the prestige it's not about just the race. The money at the back of it puts the prestige there and shows the quality of it. And if we lose the financial side of things, I'm concerned about the breeders then breeding, selling the dogs for the open racing. If the top end falls down, the bottom end falls down as well. You need all of it banding together. So we can't make the value less and less. I worry about if you take so much off the top and you split it between the also rans. I've never been a big favourite of nearly getting there. I've never been a favourite of being a nearly also ran and you're getting your money. You know, I always think you pay for the quality or the winner, etc. But you should not get in the final and be out of pocket. I don't think you should. I don't think you should ever get that. if you've made 3 or 4 journeys and you've got to the pinnacle, which is that final, I think if you break even, I think that's what you work at on the business costs of things. And you look at it, you turn and go, I can get to this final. If I get to the final, I'm level, and I've got a chance of getting the big payday.
So presumably, then you're looking at something like the Northern Puppy Derby final. You'd be looking at what, a minimum of what, 400 quid, 500 quid for the also runs.
Yeah, you'd like to think so. I mean, I don't even know what the derby was last time it ran. What the finalists of the derby, did the last place get 500 quid in the derby final? I mean, that's, oh dear me.
No, the derby's dramatically improved. I mean, one of the things that has happened, we got to a stage with William Hill where we ended up like £250,000 to the winner at Wimbledon for the last one, but the prize money for the just about everywhere else was absolutely dire. One of the things that was done at Nottingham, and I think it was Nottingham that changed the structure. I don't think it happened at Toaster. Was that they really pumped the money up? I think was it semi-finals, £5,000 to the winner.
That's good. Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure like and stuff, but no, that's good. That's good because that is our pinnacle, isn't it? Really stuff, and you want. I think it was Ben Keith. You know, actually now you've said that. I think Ben Keith was saying he wanted them, you know, all the way through like and that. So that was good.
You have any thoughts on that, Dave?
I was just about to say, I mean, let it be known that if Blue Tick George was my dog and my dog alone, there is no way I would be saying to Jim Daly, put 8 hours of your day into driving up and down the motorway to get a trial in. You know, I mean, we're going there on one trial and then we've got 3 rounds. You've got 36 dogs to beat. And in my figures, and they were just estimated, but they were close enough that you had to win it or finish second and win two of the rounds, you know, 2 of the heats to break even. That shouldn't be the way forward. If we're wanting top competitions, and they're going on Sky, you know, they're going on Sky TV, these competitions. If we're wanting to promote our top dogs, then if you're getting to the final, for the Grand Prix, for instance, they should be getting £500 minimum, you know, even if they finish last in the final. If you're getting to a final of a competition like that and you're going through a couple of rounds, if it's me, my personal opinion, I mean, we're obviously a syndicate, so we're all sharing the cost. If it's me and I owned a dog outright on my own and I was sending a dog up there, if I'm taking that risk in the first round or whatever, I would keep the prize money for maybe first and runner up in the first round, second round, but the final, that's where all the money should be, and right down to 6. If it's 500 quid and then going up where it needs to pay at the top end, then you know we've got dogs now that are running opens, and I know I've put it on Twitter a couple of times where Blue Tick George and a few of our other dogs have ran. You can finish last in a A10 and take home the same amount of money as finishing third in a top class open behind Cat 1 dogs, you know. And it's, whereas yes, it's a hobby like anything, it's got to pay, and for the breeders it's got to work out financially as well, because from the grassroots up it just doesn't make sense, the prize money. It really doesn't, especially at the opens at the top level.
Yeah, there's a couple of points I'd like to bring up because they're very closely related to that. The first one is, are we in for interesting times going ahead? Now we have 2 TV channels. Now, bearing in mind, I don't know if you subscribe to this theory that the betting shop punter would barely know the difference between an open race dog and a graded dog. If he's in there, I don't know, maybe I'm generalising, but if he's in there looking at numbers and he's looking at the fact he's got no FOBT machines to play, he's going to do something. But would he make us an extra effort? But once we get onto the online racing and we're looking at evening racing, are we coming up to an interesting period now where we might see quality of racing matter if it filters through in terms of the gambling, and we've got Sky Racing taking on RPG TV, and the only way you're going to do that to get the better racing, and to be fair to ARC, they appear to be taking a nice kind of jump on this. look at the caliber of races. Most of those you would have thought would have been featuring on Sky Racing. Could we possibly, as an industry, benefit now if they do decide to take each other on in decent quality races for the TV?
I mean, personally, myself, I think the open racing quality of TV does matter. And I say personally myself because I won't watch the run and mill racing on some of the channels, and I will go on solely because there's a decent open on. Like Sunday night, I click on to watch Swindon, and then I might click across to watch Central Park. But if it's probably say tonight, which would be a Monday night on one of the channels, and yet you've got the open race action at Newcastle, I'd go on there and watch Newcastle. Now, if the open race action was on the other side, I wouldn't watch Newcastle. I'd probably watch the other side. But is that because I'm a greyhound enthusiast, or is it because I want to see good dogs? And, you know, other people watching want to see good dogs. I think it's, as people more and more get into the greyhound side of it, a lot of these people watching the American horse racing, they've started now watching the greyhounds and getting involved in a bit more, and that's what actually happens. And I was talking to Nick on the Monday night, who does the commentary at Nottingham, and he was saying to me that I'd spoke out about this, the commentators not talking up the greyhounds or educating people on the horse racing channel side of things. And he's tried to do a bit more, and he said, I can see what you're on about, Peter, and I agree with you. And they are trying to now educate the horse people, because the horse people are interested. You know, there's a lot of people watch that American horse racing. I was surprised at how many viewers they actually get. Greyhounds is a great sport for the punter to watch and to try and understand the form. Isn't that tough? So, you know, it will draw people across. And as it does, they'll start then getting into it deeper, and they'll want the quality side of things.
Yeah, as I said, you know, if to me, if you look at the comparisons at the moment in terms of the Entain tracks have previously, because their racing has been funneled into RPG TV in the past, they've been a massive plus for it. Romford on a Friday night, all their major competitions, the Hove races, the Monmouth races. In the longer term, of course, they are going to be on Sky Racing. Now, is this a sign of the direction that ARC in particular want to go? And I ask that because, unless I have this wrong, and I could go the rest of my life and not watch another horse race, but as I understand it, when it comes to horse racing, ARC are very much at the bread and butter sector of the market, with their all-weather courses and their sort of day-to-day racing, compared to, I don't know, they don't have the big courses, do they? They don't have the Cheltenhams and the Newmarkets, Epsoms, Ascots. Is this them making more effort as far as greyhounds is concerned?
Quite possibly. I think it comes back to promotion, Floyd. To be honest, that if we're promoting properly and we're, you know, emphasising the stars of our sport, people will buy into that and people will connect into that and they'll watch it. I do think that this circumstance, you know, with I don't want to keep on talking about ARC and Sunderland and this competition, but I do worry that if we don't subscribe to these competitions, is there a risk that we'll lose them? Is there a risk that the quality will drop and these competitions will fill with dogs that have, and no disrespect, of less caliber than really the dogs that we need to be having in these competitions? I mean, I've seen an article the other day saying quite a big promotion about the Grand Prix on Sky Sports and whatnot. And that's all fine and well, and we're promoting the stars of our sports, and we're, you know, getting the bunting out that the top dogs are running. But we also need to be able to fill that prize money down, that we're supporting the breeding and supporting those top dogs and supporting owners that they'll put their hand in the pockets and buy these good animals for these competitions. Is it open racing on the cheap? It is. You know, is it competitions on the cheap? It is. And it does need change. My major concern at the present moment in time is is there a risk that we'll lose them if we don't fill them? Should owners be backed into a corner that you need to fill these competitions? You need to beat 36 dogs. You need to get to a final. You need to finish first or second to actually break even. And if you don't do that, the competition's gone. But if you do it, chances are you're going to lose money. So I don't want to see owners backed into a corner either. I don't know what Peter thinks about that.
Yeah, I think if it hadn't, I mean, I don't like to go on. We're saying this is an ARC issue, and this is solely the Grand Prix. This is a general thing. I think it's been a major thing with this Grand Prix because the Grand Prix was such a prestigious race, and it was worth, I think I was told, £25,000. We're coming from 25 down to 3, and being able to use the prestigious title of the Grand Prix. There should be payment with that. There should be a value of what that race is worth. I think if it had been a 600 race worth £3,000 and it had been a new competition, nobody had ever said a word. I don't think there would have been any issues. People would have gone, oh, right, we've got a new competition here worth £3,000, and people weighed up whether they were going or not going. I think because it was a prestigious race and it was worth 25,000, now it's come back and it's worth 3,000. And what they're doing, they're saying is, you should be pleased we've got the Grand Prix back. Don't complain that it's only worth 3 and not 25. Be happy you've got the competition. And same as what Dave's saying there is, it's like, well, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. If you don't support it and go, then we might not have a competition next year, because why put it on? You didn't want it last year, so obviously you don't want it this year. And if you do go, as a business, so they turn around and go in, hang on, we can make everything £2,000 or £3,000 because they've got the dogs, they need to run. Yeah. So why do we have to pay any more money? Yeah. So it's a catch-22, and I don't think it's fair to do that to people. If you want to run a £3,000 race, run a £3,000 competition, but don't use a prestigious title what deserves to be one of the premium events, which deserves the value added to it. That's my view, and I think there's lots of other competitions which I feel the same way. So it's not just picking at one people. I don't, I've had it this week where people have come on trying to say, "Oh, you're trying to pick at ARC," and I think that's wrong, because I'm an employee of ARC, so I don't want to be classed as like having a go at somebody. And I think but we've got to stand up for greyhound racing as such, and whoever's in the wrong, we need to shout it out.
Yeah, I think it strikes me as just a bit of a penalty kick there, a bit of an own goal there, I should say, to mix my metaphors. If somebody, exactly as you said, if somebody said, "Oh, there's another competition," the fact they called it the ARC, the fact that GBGB flagged it up, that the ARC, that the Grand Prix has come back, it's kind of a bit of an unnecessary. They're taking a bit of a kick in there for an unnecessary reason. But going back to Blue Tick George. I'm sorry, Mitch, but for your syndicate members, as you said, I think you kind of said yourself, if you are going to support events like that, then they will continue to put them on for cheap money. And
you're absolutely right, Floyd. You're absolutely right, and I can't dispute that. And when it comes to a syndicate, it's kind of out of an individual's hands. It's a democracy, and everybody's got the equal say in what happens with the dog. But I mean, it's not just this situation, it's other situations. The one thing that I was more disappointed about, and it is about money, but it's not about money. It is about money because it's about valuing and putting a value on the top of our sport, but it also isn't. I want Blue Tick George to take on the best dogs. I want Blue Tick George to take on the Pigpies. I want Blue Tick George to take on Smallmead and all these other dogs. Now, if they're not travelling because of these constraints,
good point.
They're not in syndicates. They may be owned by one individual. It disappoints me that my dog can't compete against the best. And if anything, it's robbing people, that the supporters of the sport, seeing the best dogs against each other. Look at the St. Ledger final and these big finals. Everybody's buzzing around them because you've got Christoph and Royale and Blue Tick George and Pippi, which by doing this, we're not just like devaluing the top of greyhound racing, we're also taking away that spectacle of our top athletes coming up against each other.
Yes, very much so. Just one final point on this, because I like to break these talks up a little bit, because I realise people are going to try and watch them on their phones as they go through their day. And that relates to something, a discussion we had, and a discussion I had with Patrick about Kenny the Brute, which I believe you were involved in. If you can just give us a little bit of background, what happened?
Yeah, so I've got shares with Captain Dynamite one night only. Obviously, we've got a syndicate in Australia. It was Andy Pelly. You know, you've had Andy Pelly on before. He's part of the AMS and he's got the Goldies dogs. He was interested, and him and Patrick Janssens and we're looking at dogs in Australia, and they were buzzing about it. And they contacted me, and you know, one thing led to another, and they ended up buying Kenny the Brute, a dog in Australia, and I think they've had some great success with that dog. And I don't think he's won a great deal of races, but the support that they've got there, he probably feels, I would say Andy probably feels more connected to that dog, or that dog gets more promotion there than probably a lot of the dogs he's got here, which are our top athletes, you know.
Yes, of course. I mean, Patrick was, when he was saying to me, I think they paid $30,000 for him. I think he's won $33,000. And he was saying that if they were to sell him now, he's probably worth about 25,000. So it kind of gives some perspective of not that anybody should be out in it to make money, but if you are successful and you do get a good dog, and or a quite good dog, you know, with respect to him, because I know he's not in the Tommy Shelby kind of league, but you get a dog of that kind of ability, you can actually come out in front and you can not do yourself any damage. Whereas you look at our setup, and that would appear to be virtually impossible.
How I look at it, Floyd, and how I'd say it is, I grew up around the horse side of things, and we joined an older version, what used to be the Prince Philip Games, which was something called the Mounted Games Association. And I went all around the world, went all over the place, up and down England, and it costed a fortune. And some of the horses were worth a fortune, and people were paying big money. You know, there's lots of people out there who've got young kids or whatever, and they've got fortunes money, and they try and buy success. Now, all we ever did was spend money on that. We never earned any money because it was like an amateur sort of sport. And you paid the money, you travelled, you did everything, and it cost you. But there was nobody else at the back of it making a load of money.
Yeah.
You know, the people who put the shows on, hired the event and everything, all the money what was brought in from the shows paying for it, we went to Chatsworth Show. So obviously the MJ would be paid by Chatsworth Show for putting on this exhibition of us competing. And then the money went out, and at the end of the year, we'd have a presentation, just like the GB do and everything. But it wasn't a money-making firm. Everything was ploughed back in for the equipment, hiring showgrounds where it wasn't on display. This was us just competing against ourselves. So there was no outside spectators. So there was no money. It was just us doing the competitions. And we never minded ploughing all this money in, buying the horses, traveling, all the horse boxes and everything. We didn't mind it because there wasn't somebody then out at the back of it earning a load of money from our time and effort and the money we were ploughing in. If there was, we would have expected a share of that, a fair share coming back in. Now, with the greyhound racing, it's like as though it's the same scenario, but there's some big giants at the back there earning money off our efforts and our time and all the money we're ploughing in. And all we're saying is, come on, share this out more fairly, because there is money out there. If you're not earning, we don't mind. We will pay our dues. But while somebody's earning a load, it's not fair that it's just one way. Share it out a bit more fairly. That's how I look at things.
The thing is, Peter, can I just jump in there?
Yeah.
And guarantee you, right? Guarantee you 100%. And you can ask Patrick and you can ask Andy, the money that they've made in Australia, it'll go right back in on another dog.
Yeah.
It's the same what you're saying. Yeah, you'll get some out, but there's nobody putting it in the pocket in ground racing or horse racing or whatever. It goes right back in, buy the next dog, buy the next dog, buy the next dog. We reinvest, we reinvest, we reinvest.
Yeah, that's it. We're not looking to try and make money as in such. All we want to do is come. but we don't want to have the Michael sort of taken out of us, where there's somebody at the back there with their hands out all the time, and actually probably not putting as much effort into what the people on the ground, down on the ground, are doing. And we're saying, come on, share it out a bit more, share it out a bit more. Let's be a bit more fair here.
Yeah, to be honest, it's something I've long had a view. People said to me about the end of dog racing, and as long as men and women enjoy watching dogs go around a track, even if it's a bloody field, it will always be there. And some of the things I've seen on the continent, which I've absolutely loved, where they're not running for big prize money, they're not running for big betting, they have a little tote. But the actual enjoyment of racing the dogs will always be there. And it's a shame, though, that obviously that is very much dependent on people having the money to keep it going. If you're going to do that, like the industry, like the hobby that you had before, Peter, it's going to be a very much smaller industry, isn't it?
It is, but you say it's smaller industry. The one what I used to be in has turned into a massive scenario, but it's still run as though it's a hobby type of thing, and there's not people making masses of money. We're talking there's millions and millions of pounds being bet on this ground race, and there's millions of pounds being paid to be put onto the screens. So when it is producing something like that, then everybody should have a fair share of that pot, what's coming out.